Okay, this is how to use the text tool in iMovie. So the first thing you want to do, once you've opened up iMovie, is go and open up the text tool, which is this little T button right above the events window. And in here, you're going to see a bunch of different preset ways you can use text. And the two best ways are either as the opening for like opening or closing titles. So something like that would be like this centered one, or drifting is really great. And I'm just going to drag and drop it up to the front. And then I'm going to pick the background. I'm going to go with a white background. And then as you can see, now I've got white text. So now that's not going to work, is it? So I'm going to click Show Fonts. And now I'll make it pink. Whoops. And I'll make it chalkboard. And I'm going to click Done. And then now I can write here, test me. I rock. And now we have titles. That's way number one, to use the opening titles thing. The most common opening ones would be the centered, drifting, horizontal blur, sideways drift, boogie lights. Any of these ones that are right in the middle are going to be for titles. Lens flare, vertical drift. These types of ones are for titles. Now the other thing that you can look at is making this longer. So I can actually drag it out longer if I want, in which case then I would have to do the same thing to the piece. So I made that 522. So let's go to Clip Adjustments and make this 522. See if that will work with us. There we go. Otherwise, the white background is not going to be there for the text. So now we have Test Me, I Rock. Okay, so that's the basic on doing some titles for an opening. Now, the other thing that's really common is to have what's called a lower third. And this is where you would say, come and visit me at my website. Or you would have a message of some sort. So what you want to do is find one of these ones that's a lower third. They have a basic one here called lower, but that one's actually over in the lower right. I recommend either the traditional one that's called lower third. And I'm just going to drag and drop it up here. And as you see, it sort of highlights the whole region. Now what I can do is if I go just to the front of this, it's only going to highlight the very first part. And sometimes that's a little bit easier to play with. And then I can drag and drop this to wherever I want. So I'm just going to drag that around, let's say to there. Now the first thing I might do is type something in over here. Now I've got to click in this window again to highlight the text. See, so I was over here and the text was not in blue, but if I click over here, now that text has a blue highlight behind it. So I would type my website, and then I would click on the bottom one, say, 4 tips and tricks on abundance. I don't know, or video, whatever. Okay, then I would click on Show Fonts, and maybe I want Helvetica New, and I want it pink, and I want it to be bigger. Maybe I want it to be that big. Maybe I want it on the left, or the middle, or the right, or there we go, the right. If you heard a groan, that was my dog. So those are the sort of the variations that you can do on that. Make it bigger, make it smaller. Change out all these different built-in fonts that it has. Okay, let's say that you don't like any of these fonts that you're using and you want to use one from your computer that's not in the iMovie system. That is possible. You would open up the System Font panel. Then you want to make sure that you have all of this highlighted. I think in this case, I can only highlight one at a time. And then I would just scroll to the one that I want to use. So say I want to use a font by BAM. There it is. And then I would hit Done. And then I would hit Done there. And now it's very different. And that is another possibility that you can do with the fonts. The other thing to think about is how long do you want that text on the screen? One of the most common mistakes I see is that the text is either on there for way too long or it's way too short. The general rule of thumb is that you need about 3 to 4 seconds for a standard line of text to read. If you have unusual words, you're going to need a longer amount of time, or if you have a lot of text, you're going to need more. So figure between 3 and 4 seconds. The default text in iMovie is 4 seconds. So for your beginning and your end slate, say your end slate says, for tips, sign up for my newsletter at blah, blah, blah.com. And then there's a tagline. You're going to want probably at least 6 seconds on that. I would go 6 to 10 seconds even, just to leave it up there long enough that people can write it down or whatever they need to do. So standard rule of thumb, 3 to 4 seconds for a normal amount of text. If you have unusual words, or it's 2 or 3 or 4 lines of text, definitely go longer, anywhere between 4 and 8 seconds, and sometimes even longer if it's the end slate. Okay, I hope that clears up the how to use text in iMovie questions. All right, thanks a lot.